Welcome to another edition of the Business Builders Podcast. It's the podcast dedicated to the construction and trade industry. Today's guest is Richard Stone, the creator of Project Management Blueprint. Thank you for coming, Richard. Lovely to meet you. Where did it all start? How did you get going?
Where did it all start? It all started in a footing in Birmingham when I was 5 years old, which is, to timestamp this, 44 and a half years ago.
Wow.
Quite a while.
On the trades?
I was in a footing with my old man. My old man was a QS and he was doing like a side, like now people would call them a wraparound extension. It was just a side and rear extension.
So you've been in building all your life, as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you navigate that journey from, what's the kind of timeline from when you was sort of up to your knees in it to speaking in front of hundreds of people?
So something in my DNA, I knew at that point that taking all those raw materials and converting it into something big felt really good. Like, I didn't know the numbers or any of that stuff, but I knew what that felt like. Because before that, it had been like Lego, Meccano, that sort of stuff. And there was just something in me at that point that was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to be up there with the guys on the scaffold. And I still remember to this day some of the lessons that I learned from like being involved in that with my old man. But I'll come back and I'll touch on them like later on. So we moved house when I was 11. So we moved house when I was 8 from Birmingham to Bristol. At 11, I got a job in a pub, and I ended up also, as well as
11?
working, doing the washing up and that. This was like in the early like the 80s. Like you could get away with a lot then. But the landlord had got a son and daughter, and the son was a landscaper, and the daughter's boyfriend was a scaffolder. And because I always turned up and I always worked and I always like got on and I grafted, I quite often ended up doing Saturdays with them, just like labouring, loading out turf. And then that sort of expanded to, let's just say I might forget to go to school occasionally and go and like load out a load of scaffold or unload like an articulated lorry load of turf. And I loved it because I got bullied at school because I spoke funny, because I was born in Birmingham and moved to Bristol. Yeah. Like all the kids had formed like their social cliques by then, so I was the outsider coming in already, and then because I spoke funny as well, like I was just getting ruined. So I was getting battered left, right, and centre. So I worked out that like kids my own age were not much fun. Whereas if I went to work in the pub, I got respected because I grafted, and that meant I earned wages that I could just placate the bullies with. And it took me a long time to realise that's probably not the best way of doing it. Money, maybe. But it worked for me, and that was cool. So I was doing that. So I was working in a pub. I was doing landscaping and fencing, which is like my first taste in fencing. And then I was loading out and labouring for the scaffolders as well. And I was in the lorry on the way back from a scaffolding job, and they were arguing about how much money they'd made because they weren't great at maths. And I was like, this is nuts. I was like, you got to pay me as well. And they were arguing because by the time they'd paid me, they'd got only the amount I had left between the other two. It's like, this is mental. Like, we've scaffolded the front, side and rear of a house. There's no way that's what it's worth. And I just said to like the guy driving, like, how do you work out the numbers? And he was like, well, it's simple. It's this much by this much by this much. I was like, okay. So literally, I got a fag box because I was like, I wasn't meant to be smoking, but there was a box of fag. And I got an old nail. There was like a 3-inch nail on the dash. And I just turned the fag box over so I'd got more. And I just done it on the back of a fag box. And I went, you daft. There's a naught missing off the end of it. It's 3,600 quid, not 360 quid. And he nearly crashed the lorry.
Wow.
And from that day, they used to get me to do all their pricing. So in them days, they'd get sent drawings and stuff from builders to price. I'd go pick the drawings up from the pub. I'd take them into school, and I'd be in maths, meant to be doing like math shit in like fucking pie and stuff. And I was pricing like little jobs up. But the only thing was, they had to get the drawings printed on A4 so I could fit them in my maths book.
Was you always good with maths?
My nan used to say, he's murdered around £1 note. Like I just instinctively, I can spot opportunity. I know what a deal looks like, and I understand how to put a deal together where it's a win-win for everybody. So it was good. I used to get £10 for every job I priced.
Brilliant.
I used to get $2.50 for a paper round, hugging like big sacks of papers. I could sit in maths and earn a tenner just pricing the job. So why not?
Yeah, why not indeed?
So that was where my kind of first sort of like proper construction, and then we moved again when I was 13, and we moved to a place called Wing in Buckinghamshire because my dad got promoted. And I didn't want to go. I was a proper petulant kid.
Was your dad still in construction at that point?
He was still. He was. He'd been made.
Had he moved into surveying?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he'd moved into surveying. So I didn't want to go. Like I'd got my life nailed. I'd got 4 jobs. So I was backing in lorries in a transport cafe before, of a night time. I was washing up. I was doing number crunching for, and then I was doing labouring as well. So I had a Glenfiddich. Do you remember the tubes you used to get? I had one of them, and to start with, it was full of pound coins from my wages and 50p pieces and all the tip money. In the end, it was enough to choke a donkey because it was all because he was paying me in notes, and I'd get 80 quid for going and labouring for the day scaffolding, and 60 if I was landscaping. So I was just falling over money just by
there's
working.
Obviously something inside you then you had that drive, or
I'm a grafter.
Would you say
through,
with the kids picking on you, a bit kind of deep, but with the kids picking on you, did you feel that there was something inside you had to prove something, or it just come naturally, do you think?
I think there was a bit of both. I think it was kind of... I wasn't really proving anything to the bullies because they were just I was just have some sweets, mate. On. But I felt like I had to prove, I had to earn my place because I was working on sites with adults. So I felt like I had to graft my nuts off to prove my worth of being there and outgraft anyone else. And I've just always been the same, just relentless. But I love what I do. I don't even feel like it's a job, so...
Yeah, well, you obviously we'll come on to that as we go through, but it's evolved into what it is now, hasn't it?
Yeah, massively.
But if you didn't have that initial drive or whatever kickstarted you, you may not have ended up where you are.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of ways that we can take inspiration. Some people, I find hugely inspirational. There's other people I look at and I think I'm inspired to be fuck all like you.
Yeah,
I think
good
there's different.
bad.
Yeah, there's different types of inspiration. And I was going to my uncle's funeral last Tuesday, and I was halfway around the M25-ish, and it suddenly dawned on me, actually, because we weren't that close, but actually, what a big part of my life he was. Not in terms of the amount of time we spent together, but the depth and quality of conversations we had. And he was self-employed, and he reinvented himself a couple of times through different things he was doing, and he went back on and spent a lot of money on what was it called? A correspondence course.
Right,
so he learned different skills through correspondence courses. And it was only when I was reflecting about some of the conversations, I was do you know what? Actually, he was quite a big influence in my life.
Yeah, but even in later life, if somebody is still prepared to reinvent themselves, again, that says something about their DNA, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think lots of people, and especially, we're both in the construction world, lots of my clients are in that world. Lots of people that are in that construction world just see themselves as a tradesperson and almost think they need to reinvent themselves to step up and become a business owner or become a project manager. And that's not necessarily reinvention. It's definitely reinvesting in their own personal development and their own journey. But we're all capable of so much more than we actually do. And I think we've all got a bit of a duty of care to ourselves to show up and be the best version of what we can be.
Yeah, I think it was Jim Rohn who said that you should always invest more in yourself than you do in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's so true. And as you say, they can, again, we mentioned it about apprentices not having any business training, which is criminal, really.
It's ludicrous.
But because of that, they only ever see themselves as tradesmen. They never seem to. There are obviously there's loads, but there are a very big percentage that can't get out of that mindset that they are a tradesman. Well, you're a business owner, and it is a different shift.
Yeah,
it's a mindset shift.
Big different shifts. A lot of the framework stuff we've got is taking people from being on the trades to being in business, and then from 250 to £1 million, and then £1 million to 5 million, and different levels, because you need different skills and different things, as you know, are a risk at different levels. But if you're just trading time for money, then you're never going to outpace your standard of living. So you're never really going to go, okay, well, do you know what, if I duplicated myself or if I took myself off the tools, because you're the only income generating thing. So it's a big leap of faith to expect somebody to go, oh, do you know what, I'm going to take myself off the tools, because that's the very thing that keeps the lights on in their family unit. So I get it, but it does you do need to sit down and go, right, is this working? We were both saying about we've had hip replacements, Our bodies are fragile things. They're not going to serve us forever. We need to take care of them.
Yeah. And I use sometimes with my clients is that the kind of analogy I use, it's going from transactional to transformational.
Yeah.
Because you have to transform not only yourself, but the business itself has to be structured in a way that it's got the foundations to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we run
build.
Foundation Day events, because it's literally setting that foundation first. You can't scale a business that's not systemised first.
Yeah.
It needs to be set up properly.
And there's a lot of people out there
forward.
that think working hard will scale. You can't.
You can't scale by working
No,
hard.
it's systems and processes.
Yeah, you need a system. Then if you want to work hard, then you can really, really scale. But you need the system in place first to be able to do it.
Yeah. So you've come to where you are. You obviously, unfortunately, you went to your uncle's funeral and you're talking about the inspirations. Where are we going now? Where's the journey taking
So when
us?
we moved, I finished school. I went on the tools fencing for years, which was good. It was a good life. I earned really good money. I had like 3 gangs.
Was that your
working
own
for me.
business?
Yeah, so it was my own business. It was subcontract work. So we were labour only to big like regional and national contractors. And it was good.
Was that your first venture as your business
Yeah,
owner?
pretty much, yeah. But one of the things that I started looking at was, like, where's the risk in what we're doing? Well, the risk is in the loading out, because it's all heavy stuff, and the digging. Well, if you can de-risk them things by using, like, post-hole borers, that sort of stuff, then you're buying back time. So I started to look at ways that we could go, okay, how can we get to the point where we're erecting quicker? And it was literally by going, right, we need to invest in post-hole boring machinery first. And then it was right, okay, now we've got framework up. And like one of the systems we used to use had got M8 roofing bolts with square nuts on, which are an absolute bastard because you couldn't do them, you had to do them up by hand. So we imported sockets that was 16-sided so we could actually use impact wrenches.
Right.
And then we were like, okay, right, what do we do next? And like, but every single thing we measured and we were like, okay, well the saving of that is X amount of time. And it was nuts because we were paid up. We got no day work. It was all price work only. Like because we were getting faster, we were putting more work up. So rather than take that money out and go and spend it, I was like, right, what are we doing now? So then we went into right. Let's buy airlines. Let's get coil nailers because then we can board faster. So everything was about like improving, systemizing, trying to basically get to the end product with less friction. So if someone phoned up and said, "Oh, we want like 1,000 meters of post morale," I was like, "I'm not your guy for that. Go talk to Clive. He'll do it. He's got a tractor and a farm. He'll put." Like, and they're like, "Well, why don't you do it?" And I'm not interested. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like we knew what we were doing and we just stuck to our lane and that's what we did. And when I sort of went into construction management, so when I was 22, I put myself through college, which was hard because it was like a day off site, so it was costing me money. I had to obviously pay for the college, I had to do all the study, and we didn't, at that point, I didn't have a computer or anything, I didn't know how to use a computer at all. And we did a big job for a guy who was a regional manager for Costa Coffee, and we put a big fence up around his daughter's house. It was about, I don't know, close to 1,000 metres around his garden. And we got the job done, and I was there in the afternoon. I went to get weighed out by the geezer, and he was like, "I've only got half the money." And I just looked at him and went, "Are you having a fucking bubble?" I mean, "I'm really sorry, I thought you'd be here for days, I was going to get it." I was like, "We're finished, I want fucking paying." And he was like, "Come with me." And we went into come out of his kitchen, went in, got a garage next to his house, and in there was this coffee machine that was about, I don't know, 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot. And he went, "You can have that." I went, "Mate, I don't even drink fucking coffee, I drink tea. What use is that to me?" And he was like, "Oh, it's 10 grand. I went, "It's not worth a tenner to me because I don't drink coffee." So then he went, "Well, you can have this computer as well." And he gave me this, I'll never forget, it was a compact Presario computer. It was like the TV monitor was about this big, and it sat in the garage for 4 years, didn't use it because I didn't know how to turn it on. So I had to then also teach myself how to use computers and stuff as well, which was a whole different world.
But some of the things, if anybody's listening now, some of the things I'm picking up on is you're looking at your normal business, you've got your trade, but you're looking at it, if you like, from a helicopter view, and you're thinking, okay, how can I improve this, the efficiency? How can I maximise our time? So you don't. A lot of people don't do that. They just go through the routine because that's the way they've been trained.
The same thing.
And if anybody's listening, they need to take a step back, don't they, and look at their business and see, how can I improve this? How can I get more for less, if you know?
Yeah, it's nuts. We did it. So when I've been in construction for 20 odd years, we set up our own main contracting business. And we were doing fire remediation work, common part refurbs and external refurbs and decoration, because they're all highly profitable strategies. We didn't want to become a general builder. Yeah. We wanted stuff that was 30% margin plus. and we did the external repairs on a building in Chiswick. It was about £300,000 project, and I got 2 GoPros, and I just literally cable tied them on time lapse to a lamppost. It wasn't posh; it was like dead simple, and I just filmed how we were doing all these window care resin repairs. And then I got the 4 chippies in for a day, got pie and mash, sat down, and we just went back over all this footage, and we looked at every single body movement that they did. And I was like, right, okay, if we switched from having all these different like toolboxes and stuff to having everything in Festool T-lock boxes on a trolley, if we took all the sway braces out of the scaffold and went to a dog bone scaffold, which means you can wheel a trolley up and down the platform, like, look at how much time this would save. And we just done some back of the fag packet calculations, and we reckoned we could probably save about a week on a 6-week project. So when we came to do the same thing again on another building, we did it, and we saved 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Because we looked at every single bit of the process. So we had one person going ahead doing all the chopping out, so another person with a backpack hoover, another person coming behind squaring stuff up, another person coming putting the resin in, someone else coming finishing it off. It's one of the most profitable. Like, honestly, it was like printing money.
Sounds it, yeah.
It was like we were getting. I think we were getting like about £60 a repair.
Also makes you look more attractive, because there's a lot of contractors, if they were just to take a step back and look at the program, if they can shorten that in any way, which is effectively what you've done, there's money there.
It was all free money, because we'd got a fixed price program for it. So any extra weeks we didn't need, I was keeping the prelims.
Yeah,
because I was a principal contractor. I couldn't lose. I was spending less on labour. We were more efficient. We weren't using so much material, which is mega expensive because that gear's expensive, because one person was doing it. So they were using every bit of gear on their pallet. So we weren't having any wastage. And we had less prelims because we saved time on the length of the job, and we didn't have any extra scaffold hire. Yeah, I could tell you how much we saved, but someone watching might have it. Yeah. It was an interesting final account meeting. I can tell you.
It was,
because they asked us for a saving for finishing early, and I was like, well, would you have not hit me for damages then? Of course you fucking wouldn't. No, sod off. It's not paying gain. I've always had that kind of like, right, how can we try and how can we get the best out of this?
Obviously I'm picking up on that. It's something that you, again, whether it's something that's inspired you, whether it was, just that need to get out the footings out the trenches. There's something inside you that's driven you that, but you've taken it another step, because you are looking at everything objectively and saying, okay, how can I systemize this? How can I improve it? How can I shorten it? Whichever direction you have to go.
Yeah, it's a big part of the value proposition. So I do a lot of non-exec work with clients that want to get into public sector bidding, either to help them shape their bid or to help them actually in mobilisation. And the amount of people are like, "What? You've got a framework for this?" I'm like, my whole brain is all framework thinking. We've got a framework for every single thing, because it means that it's repeatable and it's also scalable, which, guess what? It means it's saleable, because you don't have to do this forever.
We had a site manager, Paul Kitcher, great site manager. And whenever we walked on a job, we were doing the Pineapple Studios in Covent Garden, and he looks at it and he goes to the end of the job and he would say, right, okay. And he would always work backwards. And he's in his mind, he just done it in his mind, because he'd been doing it so many years. It was great, great. But I can see very similarities in some of the people that I've met, and like yourself.
Yeah, we always build programs back. Like, I teach it in project management now, and people are like, why do you start at the end? I'm like, because my granddad used to say, never start a job until you're ready to finish it. And if you've got everything lined up properly, and then you can just work backwards. And then then the other thing with working backwards is you don't forget any of the interfaces, and you don't forget things like drying time and inspections, because you're like, okay, well, I can't hand it over without this. Well, when does it happen?
And don't call trades in too soon. Yeah,
exactly.
So where did we go from here? Where's the next part of the journey?
Where's the next part of the journey? I can't remember where we got to.
It was on already scaffolding and the... and making a fortune at the client's expense.
Yeah, fortunes are great, but the streets are not paved with gold, are they? And then COVID came along.
Yeah.
We were owed quite a lot of money, big 6 figures. And we had 2 clients that unfortunately decided to spend the money that was meant to be paying our bill on other fire remediation work so that they could get stuff done, which meant we'd got bills left paying, so we had to shut the company. So we put loads of personal money back into it to make sure all the subbies got paid. We didn't put personal money back into it to pay HMRC. I'll be really honest, because my attitude was, I've already paid tax on it once, why am I going to pay it twice? But we closed the company, we made sure that all subbies got paid. And I was already looking at the stuff that we'd already done with the systems and the business and that sort of stuff. I'd got six clients where they were like, you should be teaching this. And I was like, there's a lot of truth in that. And people were saying, oh, can you help me like project manage my project? I'd got developer clients that were saying, look, can you act as our project manager? Can you act as our QS? And I was like, yeah, I probably could. And I was getting a lot of body pain. My hips were like battered because during COVID I'd gone back on the tools for a little while. And I thought, yeah, I need to really kind of like think this through properly. So I was doing more consulting work than anything else, doing some teaching informally for people. And I had a conversation with my wife. She was like, why don't you just turn this into a product? And I had a chat with Tony Gargan, a good friend of ours, and she was like, you'd be mad not to do this. Like, the world needs you to get out of your head what's in your brain. Like, it could help so many people.
And it's so rewarding as well, isn't it? When you see people benefit from...
Oh, massively.
And it's a rewarding... Not only seeing the benefit of them, because obviously that's what you do it for, but also yourself. It's so...
it hits me right there. Every time I see one of Jamie Jenkins' posts, it's like, oh my God.
He's a lovely guy.
He always messages me and goes, mate, you're the best mentor. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah.
And seeing him, not just win another contract, but seeing him like taking pride in setting his jobs up properly, seeing the feedback he gets from his clients as a result of the work I've done with him, that's the bit that hits there. It's
I'd
those
also
wins,
imagine,
it's not the
because
money.
you see them, yes, the business, of course, but you see them transform as individuals, don't you?
Absolutely.
The confidence, you can see the way they stand, the
totally
way they
different.
carry themselves. It's so
and he
rewarding.
carries himself into project meetings with his clients now completely differently because he's got the confidence that only clarity in your proposition can give you.
And that is a problem, I think, with a lot of small construction or trade businesses, is that because they're doing it, it's all cost, and they don't see the investment, it's just cost. They go in there on the back foot to start with. When, they end up buying the job to keep people happy rather than thinking, what are you doing? I think a lot of that though is they're going in there to have the wrong conversation. They're going in there to have a conversation about construction. They need to have a conversation about trust. Like if they go in there with a conversation about trust, the client, they're going to win the client over. If they go in there and start talking about fucking plasterboard and bricks and but it's also the value you're bringing them. The lifestyle changes or whatever it may be, whatever type of project. You don't put yourself on the back foot by feeling privileged that somebody's coming to you. They're buying your expertise, and they're paying for your expertise, and it comes at a price. Don't give it away.
I think a lot of it, I mean, so much of this is it's not skill set, it's mindset. And people always tend to pedestalise the thing that they haven't got. And, for your average trade, they're looking for the next project to keep the roof over their head and keep the lights on. They're almost pedestalising the client because the client's the one with the money. And they're like, oh,
exactly,
okay. Whereas actually, they want to be going, well, hold on a minute, why should I come and work for you? Like, where is the money? Is it in an escrow account? Is it in a project bank account?
And don't take every job. Not every, as we said earlier, not every client is, even if there is some money in there, they still doesn't necessarily mean they're your ideal client. Don't be afraid to say no.
The hardest money you'll ever earn. Chasing a job for a pound is an absolute nightmare. It's not a road you want to be going down.
So you're into training.
Indeed.
Obviously, I can tell you enjoyed it. How was it initially sort of QSing or project management, and how did you navigate to where you are now?
So I started off by looking at actually, like, what do people need? Like, is there a gap for what I can offer? Because if there's not a gap, there's no point doing it. And what I worked out pretty quickly is that lots of people have quite often invested a lot of money in other training products, not always, but quite often, that are typically full of hype and hope. Whereas I was kind of coming from a point of view of, right, if you've just got a simple solution for delivering a project, then if you're overwhelmed at the prospect of that and you've got a system that's going to help you get through it, you're far more likely to be successful. So I went back over, I interviewed 500 clients for stuff where either that had been a client of mine or from a construction point of view, or where I'd done consulting work, or people that I met at networking events that would be interviewed about projects that had gone well and gone badly. And then I went back over all the QMS stuff that we'd done when I'd put ISO into businesses and put systems into companies. And from there, that was like the birthplace of the blueprint, because I looked at what was the core DNA, what were the things that were omnipresent in any project that was successful, and what were the things that were missing. And that's where our kind of like our core DNA frameworks come from, is actually what are the success factors that you need in a project? Because if you haven't got that, then I could have packaged up whatever, but it would never work. You know, I could have just took the whole ISO manual that I wrote for a previous company, but if I said to someone, do you want to come spend 4 days and learn about quality assurance, they'd be like, are you fucking serious? Not a chance. So I was like, right, how do we distill this and make it relevant with the right detail, but only enough information that people actually need to be able to go out and get the results?
What's good about that is there's so many people out there at the moment promoting these courses and support, but you've done it from personal experience. You know, it's not a framework. It's not, well, it is a framework, but it's not taken from an academic kind of
not at all
blueprint as such. These are tried and tested techniques that you've implemented. That's why it's a lot more valuable than some of these other people out there doing it from a
so I wrote it. So I spent a year doing the research. I kind of have got a bit of a stationery addiction, so it was like I've got to indulge that a little bit.
Got to use your library ticket.
I did like crazy. I think I had something like 60 Lever Arch files full of like research stuff, because I was printing it off and like cross-referencing it, and I put together the framework, and I was like, right, what else is out there in the industry? So one of the things I looked at was like the REBA planner work, so 0 to 7. Because what I wanted to create was something that someone could actually pick up, and then when they go and talk to someone about it, other people understand. So I thought, if I use the REBA planner work steps, then it's going to make sense when you're engaging with architects and structural engineers and stuff. So my framework's called projects. So that's the 8 steps of it. So I did all the research, and I was like, I ain't a teacher. Like, I didn't even want to be in school. How am I going to teach? I'm not a teacher. So I spoke to 3 big industry sages. Sadly, one of them is no longer here anymore. And they were like, what? But because they're in big construction firms, they're like, who's going to buy this? Like, it's like, what are you wasting time for? Come and do some consulting for us. Like, get some money. And I was like, that's not what I'm about. So I did that. And then I was really fortunate. I was in 2 speaking groups. One was Toastmasters and another one was a private group. And there was a teacher in one and a lecturer in another. And I did some help. I did some pro bono work. So we did a skill swap with them. And they looked at it from a teaching perspective. And that was really interesting to look at actually like how you would teach this, and has it got like teachable criteria to it? Like, is there an outcome? What's the lesson plan? What's the learning objective? All that stuff. And then I got it CPD accredited.
Oh,
so I went to CPD and said, look, this is what I'm delivering. This is what it is. They made me jump through some hoops. I had to produce a few extra like templates for them internally. And they came back and accredited for 24 hours CPD, which is the first time I've ever done a 24-hour training with 24 hours worth of CPD.
That's brilliant accreditation, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Gives you a lot of validity.
Don't get me wrong, there are some quite searching questions. I mean, one of the things they said was a bit of a joke, and it was like, it properly narked me at the time. They said, you need to create a lesson delivery plan. I was like, okay, why? And they said, well, so that somebody can teach it. I went, I'm fucking teaching it. And I went, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm teaching it. It's my course. And they were like, yeah, but when someone else teaches it, I went, no one else is ever going to teach it. It's mine. It'll go to the grave with me. And the woman went, what a waste.
Oh, really? Yeah.
What a waste, she said. I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, like, you should allow other people to, and up until that point I'd always been, I would never, and I had a couple of people say to me, like, can we buy a franchise, or can we buy like a license to deliver it? And I'd always been like, no. And I'm still no, but I'm not 100% no now. I'm only like 90%. No, actually,
as you're talking about it now, it seems an interest. Definitely licenses, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's mileage in it, because my why really is impact and legacy.
Yeah. And
leaving the construction industry in a better shape than when I found it, because it's been really good to my family.
Yeah.
For multiple generations, and if I can do something to give something back to the people that are on the trades about actually. Like, you can go and become a project manager. You can go and become a site manager. It's not as difficult as you think it is. It's actually pretty simple. You just need a set of tools to be able to do it.
With regards, obviously, you've been heavily involved in the commercial side. There is a hell of a lot of people out there that do high-end resi, whatever, from, they say, the domestic resi side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody listening to this, what would you say if somebody has been relatively successful in the resi side and they think, actually, I like to transition, I like to dip my toe in the commercial world, obviously I have my views on it, but what's your views on that? What is the main differences between those two, which you need to think twice about before you just leap in?
They're totally different risk profile, massively. If you're working, like lots of contractors that do resi work really successfully, and I hear this so much with people that come to our events and their prospects and stuff, and they're like, I'm not doing that, it's bandit country. Like, I'll get folded up by a QS. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just get educated and then they won't be able to fold you up. And I'll go, okay, but that's just a belief you've got there, isn't it? And they're like, yeah. And they're proper staunch. They really believe it. Like, they'll bang the table. And I'm like, okay. I said, let me just like zoom out a little bit though. I said, so you're doing a 300 grand extension on someone's house and there's a problem with it. They've got £100,000 worth of legal cover on their house insurance. You haven't even got a contract. Who's going to fold you up like a deck chair? A QS that you can train yourself against, or a barrister? What's quicker to learn? And they're like, what? And then they go and research it, and they're like, fucking hell, he's right.
Yeah, got no
I'm
cover.
like, it's just a mindset thing.
Actually, you just triggered something in my mind then. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right.
Insurance. Insurance is something that I always find a lot of and commercial companies don't really delve into enough.
Yeah, they don't at all.
What's your views on that in terms of somebody listening, in terms of cover? Because the amount of people that not the small resi ones never got it in place, but even the commercial ones I've met, a lot of them don't really go into the nitty gritty of the contract and relate it to how it's going to affect them.
Yeah,
what's your views on that?
So, well, there's two things there. One is insurance, and the other one's contracts. So, and I'll do them in that order. So, insurance wise, I had dinner with our broker back end of Q4 last year. And we were talking about insurance because it's one of the things that I cover on my training. And he was saying, you do realise that 75% of construction's insurance is invalid. He said, and that's only the people that have even got cover. And I said, well, I'm surprised it's that high, but actually there's a bit of me that's not that surprised because people see it as a cost. Nobody understands the value of their insurance policy until they try and claim on it.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of horror stories about, you can't claim and all. So everyone just sees it as a cost. So all they want to try and do is drive the cost down. Well, the only way they can do that is by not stating the truth on their questionnaire when they make their application. And I've seen this so many times. I had a conversation with somebody at one of our events, January I think it was, and he was like, yeah. He said, I got a sweet deal on my insurance. I was like, okay, yeah. Like, what's that all about then? He was like, yeah, that broker you put me onto, he's really good. Like, yeah, I know. I don't recommend people that I've not used. That's why I'm the way I am. Yeah. But he asked me loads of questions. He said, and one of the things he told me was I wasn't covered for doing what I was doing because the guy'd got insurance for repairs and maintenance. He's doing new build. It's the amount of times that people
they're looking at the price again, aren't they?
They look at the price. Yeah. I had a conversation with someone literally 3-4 weeks ago on Facebook, and he was moaning about the issue of the building control officer. And building control officer said to him, no, you've got to go 2 metres deep for these foundations because of trees. I was like, are you insured for that? He went, well, I'm covered for the first metre, so I'll be all right. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that actually they're not covered, or I'm covered for the first 10 metres in height, and then they're not covered above it. Well, no, you're not covered at all. It doesn't mean you're only covered for a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So they don't get it, and they see it as a cost. And yeah, it is a cost. But if you're actually pricing work properly, like Jamie's a wicked example of this, and loads of my mentees now do it, is if you're pricing the project properly and you're pricing the work and the prelim element, then the part of that insurance cost goes on the cost of the job.
Yeah.
So
but
get
also,
the right cover in place.
With insurance companies as well, go to an insurance company that has construction experience.
Yeah, you need the right broker.
Too many people just go because they just want to tick the box that they've got insurance without thoroughly understanding how it relates to what they're physically doing.
Yeah, and trades really struggle with this. I had somebody gave me a death threat on Facebook about 6 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
He was cutting a roof in, and he was on this roof, and it was like it wasn't really safe, but wasn't what I was commenting on. And he was saying about how he'd cut this roof in, and I just said to him, mate, them birds' mouths look really good. Like the quality of your work looks wicked. And then he just commented, thank you for your supportive comment or something. And I was like, I love calling out really good work because I also like call out shit as well. And he was like, I was like, and we just had this conversation, like 2 or 3 comments. I said, just one thing, I said, have you got professional indemnity insurance? He was like, what were you on about professional indemnity insurance? Well, you've just told me you've had to design that roof on the scaffold. Yeah. So you're now a designer on that project. Are you insured to do that? Properly went off.
even heating engineers, if there's a change of location, you
Yep.
know,
Any
it's the
trade.
same, but they don't see that
They don't see it.
they're liable there.
Yeah, but they will now, because under the Building Safety Act and the new building regs, the liability is just massively escalated. But it's not. People think EOT is about extension of time. It's not. It's evidence of thinking. You've got to be able to demonstrate what you've done, why you've done it, what were the grounds for doing it, where's the records, where's the decisions, who was on board with it, and who was involved. And if you can't, and there's an issue, people's insurance is going to get cancelled fast.
Yeah. At this point, I know you've mentioned it on social media. Would you like to just mention that new regulation that's coming in?
Yes.
Is this the right vehicle for it?
Yeah, so, well, anybody that's in the trades needs to know. So post-Grenfell, we've got the Building Safety Act, which was actually brought in 2022. It became live in 2024, which changes the game in terms of building regulations completely. The building regulations are now much more amplified. Building control officers now will not, and they're not allowed to give you design advice, which means that your design team need to put forward a proper proposal with the right amount of information on it. And if it's not, they'll just reject the proposal. And we're seeing this time and time again. Not just, I mean, I'm qualified to do principal designer work on high-rise buildings, but I'm talking about just simple stuff like basic extensions. Like there's a guy we had as a client in 23, 24, and he had to shut his company in 2025 because of a legacy issue on a project in 2021, I think it was.
What's the time span now?
So it's 30 years.
30.
Yeah, for building fabric defects it's 30 years, because the other thing with it as well is that they can use another tool which goes back to the 1970s called the Defective Premises Act. So if it's found to be a defect, they can use that legislation.
How much onus is on the material supplier in this?
Not a massive amount, because at the end of the day, the contractor's the one that's installed it. So, and the other issue with that is that if you've got, say you've got a general builder doing like £1 million worth of sales, so he's probably making 150, 200 grand margin out of that. Material suppliers are doing hundreds of millions of pounds worth of sales. They've got a much bigger legal machine than your average contractor's got. And this is what happened to this guy. So he was doing a loft conversion north of Watford Gap. So on the drawing, it had a particular type of Kingspan insulation. It was all on the drawings. The client decided they wanted to save some money because they wanted to put more into the kitchen. And the client went to a trade show and saw spray foam insulation. Said to the architect, "Oh, well, if we use this product, we're going to save loads of money." They told the builder to install it. The builder got a subcontractor to do it. They'd got all the BBA paperwork, everything. The project gets finished, it gets signed off, everyone's hunky-dory. The guy then goes to refinance on his mortgage value, surveyor comes out, values it at zero. Says, I can't lend against this because it's got spray foam insulation in it.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, the knock-on effects.
Yeah.
Actually, something just crossed my mind again with regards to insurance. When they are bringing subcontractors in, how many times does the main contractor not check them?
They don't
check
do
their
any due
insurances?
diligence at all.
They don't, do they? Should
No.
be interview them.
Yeah.
But again, if anybody is listening that has a scenario similar to this, check your insurance, please go to the right broker, check your subcontractors, make sure they're covered, because they just take out a standard 1 million or 2 million. It's not enough.
It won't be enough.
No.
I've never seen a policy that doesn't say the provisions have got to be back to back. So if you've got 5 mil cover, they want your supply chain to have 5 mil cover.
Yeah.
And they don't check it. But then they're not checking basic stuff like people's CIS verification. They're not checking people's right to work. The fines for right to work are unlimited. You employ someone and you've not done their right to work check, and there's an issue with it.
Yeah.
The fines are unlimited from DWP. It's not fun, and it's not like none of that stuff's difficult to do if you know it needs doing. But it's an unknown. Most people like come off the tools or are on the tools. Maybe they like get a few people working for them, and then they step up, start running a firm, running around pricing work, winning work, getting work in, paying people, and they think that's running a company, and there's not. There's so much more to it, especially from a compliance point of view.
Yeah, and with the compliance side of it, definitely in commercial, this is one thing that anybody that's in domestic at the moment wants to make that transition. Just take a moment, check your systems, because whilst it may seem on the surface contractual and frightening, but it's only frightening because you're not educated.
Yeah, exactly.
If you
yeah.
understand it, it's not as bad as it seems.
Yeah, none of it's difficult
But
if you know.
Maybe a bit more competitive on the tendering side. You don't get deposits up front, which is a bit of a nuisance.
You can. Well, you can.
Well, some, we
Yeah.
did if we'd done a lift, but it didn't do it too many other times.
Yeah, it just depends on what's in the cost plan basically, and you know, if you've got a decent firm and you've got a decent supply chain, it's not really an issue anyway because JCT contracts are 28-day payments normally with 14 days after certificate, so it's not. You know, most people confront that. That's not the end of the world. And to be brutally honest, I'd rather have that scenario where I've got a payment certificate, which is pretty much as good as cash, than working for a domestic homeowner who decides to disappear to the Maldives for 6 weeks.
And it's very emotive, so they don't never get your last payment.
Well, exactly. It's a business-to-business transaction, whereas doing something on someone's house, that's an emotional-based decision, unless they've got a contract administrator, but most people don't have.
So if there's a residential builder now, in terms of training, rather than overload them, because there's quite a broad brush, but what would you say the 2 or 3 key trainings that they should do? Would it be JCT, and would there be some critical ones that you recommend?
I think the key things really is understanding roles and responsibilities around Building Safety Act, so they know the limit and scope of their responsibility, and getting some commercial training about actually what contracts are, what contracts mean, how you can use contracts, and how you can get folded up by one if you don't understand how to comply with it. Because all a contract is really is a record of an agreement between the parties. And
which can be modified. A lot of people don't realise that.
Yeah, exactly.
They think it's cast in stone.
No,
as long as you're working together, you can modify it to suit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously we've got to the point where we're training. Where are you now? You know, what is the kind of training programs, and who is your target market now?
So I deliver a couple of training programs. So I deliver the project management blueprint, which is aimed at small builders, general builders, and people that want to move into property development. So that teaches them a complete project management system with all the tools and the templates to do that, which I absolutely love doing. That like literally, they are my favourite days of the year doing that. It's just. I just come alive. It's like all I can hear in my head is Hugh Jackman come alive. Like I literally love doing it, and you can see the reviews. It's like it's light-hearted. It's not. Yes, it's classroom, but it's light-hearted. It's like there's loads of story in there about like why you need to do it. So I teach that. I also teach people property development, because lots of people think that you need like millions of pounds to be a property developer, and you actually don't. You know, you can start in property development with not a great deal of your own money. Sometimes actually none. Like I've got a building in Milton Keynes, which is a joint venture. I've not even got £1 in that building. It would convert in 7 flats.
Do you have to secure it against anything though?
No, we've not got any security against that.
Right.
We've got a joint venture with a building owner. So,
good.
Yeah. So I do that. I help people with all sorts of stuff. I've got a couple of people I'm helping them write their courses. I'm helping 6 businesses transition from being in on the trades to actually doing commercial work as well. So yeah, there's a few different things that I spend my time doing.
Very interesting. Just moving across to the surveying side, if there's anybody out there, because obviously, well, we know there's development, there's building, there's quantity. You know, there's a range of the surveyor umbrella is quite broad. But if somebody's looking to get into construction, not so necessarily on the tools, but in the administration side, in the financial side, say in the surveying side. What advice would you give them? Where would you direct them in that sense?
If they wanted to get into the project management and the surveying and that sort of stuff, you know, there's different ways of learning something. You know, my son's actually doing, as well as being on my construction mastermind, he's actually also doing a construction management degree.
Right.
And ironically, his tutor was one of my tutors 35 years ago, and they've asked me to go in and teach construction management at this uni. So it's a bit of a full circle moment. Yeah. I think it depends what you want to do. If you want to go and work for a big blue chip as a project manager or a QS, you're going to need a degree. If you just want to cut your teeth doing it, you know, we teach people how to do that in 3 days, because it's not a difficult, it's a process. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It's just a series of steps to go through. Yeah. So it depends.
Would they require any? Obviously, you mentioned your skill with maths. Some people see a particular position and don't really understand what the fundamental requirements are. What kind of internal skills is there? You know, do you need to have education at a certain level, or
you don't need to have? You need to be able to read and write. You don't need to have an education beyond that particularly. Some of the best clients I've had have not been like, one guy couldn't write, and now he can, but that's not a barrier to entry. I don't know that it ever was really. I think a lot of people perceived it was, and some people used it as a way of holding other people back. But we're in a world of AI. Like, I don't write letters. I talk them. I just talk into my phone or talk to the microphone on my desk. You know, there's so many tools out there now to help people with different skills or with different challenges that it shouldn't be a barrier to entry for most people to be able to actually get a start in construction management anymore.
Yeah. Okay. If you had to, if somebody's listening to this and they're a construction company, we'll do it on the resi side first, and you had to give, you're going into this company and you've been told you can only talk about one issue. I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but if you go into one issue and you say, right, you've got to get that nailed before you can really start to see things improving, what would that one issue, what advice would you give on and around a particular subject?
So it would be around accurate data over people every time, because like, I want to say numbers, but the data is what generates the numbers. Like there's a bigger principle called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. And if you haven't got accuracy of data, the numbers are irrelevant because they're not the truth. You need to know what's actually happening. So whether you're commercial, whether you're resi, actually tracking job by job, are we making the profit on this job we thought we were? And if we're not, okay, brilliant that we know we're not. That's not a bad thing. Where did it go wrong? And that's why it's so important. Like, we have a principle in construction called CVR, cost value reconciliation, and like that's an absolute like non-negotiable. Every project every month has a CVR, so that we can track in real time. Most people in construction are relying on their accountant to tell them at the end of the year whether they made any money. It's too late then. You can't step into a project. Like, you do a domestic extension, 16, 20 weeks. It's no good waiting until the end to realise you're not making any money. You need to be looking at that all the way through. So looking at quality data, first of all, then where does that feed into? Well, that feeds into loads of stuff, because that feeds into numbers, but I would want to look at the numbers, but almost concurrently, so at the same time as looking at the numbers, I want to look at the behaviour, because so many people, well, I've always done it this way. Like, it's the worst thing anyone in construction can say. Why'd you do it like that? Well, because we've always done it. It's why we still build with bricks and masonry now, because we've always done it, because we're a clay-based country. You know, we haven't really embraced like timber frame and MMC and ICF and some of the other systems.
Germany are very modular buildings now, aren't they? Very much into that. Yeah. Again, a lot of people get a little bit scared again because of the lack of education. But as you're talking there, I can imagine some people are saying, "Yeah, but I've got," because they see cost investment as different things. They're probably saying to themselves, "Yeah, but I've got to invest thousands into software and that," but they don't. So, you know, like a CVR can be just on a basic Excel spreadsheet.
I'm massively, like, a lot of people that are into business systemization hate me, because I'm like, don't go and start buying loads of fancy software and apps and stuff. Like, you don't need any of it. Like, literally, Microsoft Office, Excel, like our CVR, we've done projects 125 million with the same CVR. We've done projects at $5,000. It's one page. Because the thing with one page, you can't fucking hide. It's like, and when I've done project rescue and recovery stuff, like, some of them are like, oh, we've got our CVR's free spreadsheets. Well, why?
Yeah, some companies have 7, 8.
Yeah.
I think when I was at Bovis, they had this, like Reams, we just whittled it down to 2 pages. But it tells you so much. If you're halfway through the project and, I know, you've taken out all your profit already, now you've got a problem.
Yeah.
But you can see that. But if you don't know that, then,
exactly,
you know, it's these, actually, just because I'm assuming there's a lot of people out there that don't actually. Can I ask you just to run through what CVR is and how you do it, if you mind doing that?
So CVR, so it's cost value reconciliation. So you look at, so basically, it's almost like, if you imagine a photograph is capturing a moment in time. So if someone took a picture now, I'm sitting here with my hands like this, and so are you, but I've moved my hands now. It's a different picture. CVR is exactly the same thing. It captures the financial position at that period. So we always do ours at the end of the month. The accounts get closed on the last day of the month, and our CVRs, they get issued we normally get the costs within 48 hours, and the CVRs have got to be done 3 days after that. So 5 days after month end, we know where that project is. So the first thing we look at is we do a current valuation of how much work has been completed at that point in time. And if we're doing the project for the client, what's our sales value? If we're doing a build to sell, what is that as a percentage of the cost plan of the overall project? So we look at that. And then we look at what we've got in retention, if it's for a client. If it's not, retention's a moot point. Then we look at what does it cost us to deliver those percentages of those packages. So if you think about building like a single house, so say we've done our foundations, we've got our slab in, we've done our brickwork up to first floor. So we would look at as a percentage of our total. So if we'd got 10 grand in for drainage and we've done all of it, we would say we've got 10 grand's worth of value in our value. And what is it cost us to deliver that? So what did we pay a ground worker? What did we pay Lemon or whoever the groundwork supplier is? What did it cost us? So it's an apples for apples comparison. And then what spits out at the bottom is what is the profit, assuming that there is a profit. We always have profit
on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis,
yeah. And you can compare that with the forecast.
Exactly.
Profit.
Yeah. So ours is split into 3 parts, even though it's 1 page. We have what did the estimate say? What were we going to make on our bid? The biggest chunk of it is like the biggest. I think it's like when we looked at it, split into eighths. So the top eighth is the projection at tender. Then we've got 6/8, which is the current position, and then the final one is what do we project the final account to be? Because that's just as important. And then we've essentially got 3 photographs. We've got what did we bid it at, what is it currently, and what's our financial projection for the end of the job. And there's quite often a difference between what the end of project financial projection will be to what the current status is. You know, we might have loads of money in the finishes if we've done it wrong. Normally, we strip a lot of profit out of finishes and put them in the ground so that we've got it up the front end. But if you've got a CVR where the middle 6/8 of that say that you're going to make 32%, but at final account when it's done you're only going to make 25%, we know that at the end of the month. We don't get surprised at the end of the project or the end of the year and go, oh my God, where's all our profit gone? Because people in construction don't do that, and they go off buying Range Rovers and holidays and all sorts of stuff, and they're not spending their own money.
Yeah.
They're spending money that needs to be put back into the project to keep it on track to get to the end. So many people end up with too much project left at the end of the profit.
Yeah, with anybody as well, with regards that, for anybody who's never experienced or seen a CVR before, I would say that obviously you need to attend the class to understand it fully, but even if you've got a very basic spreadsheet that records your ins, outs, controls the subcontractors, material costs, and you can physically see obviously if it's compounded you have to take out the previous month's profit, but if you are seeing the monthly profit come through, then you should be able to stay on top of the project. I always say in many respects, especially small contractors, they should build their business around the CVRs.
Oh, absolutely.
Around the job costing.
Yeah. So our CVRs are what? So all of them go into a CVR summary sheet, and that summary sheet is what gets pulled into our management accounts.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is an end-to-end system. It's dead easy. Like if you want, I'll send you a copy of our template. You can put it in the show notes if people want it.
Yeah.
They can have it.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be good.
Knowledge is only any good if you share it, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what we do. But okay, moving on then. What other pieces of advice can you give to? Obviously, we've mentioned the residential, the commercial. I suppose the argument is just the same, to be fair, with the CVRs. But is there anything else? Any other tools that you feel, in addition to the CVR, that are critical for whether it be procurement schedules or programs? Is there anything else that you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest one's behaviour, making sure everybody's on the same bus. Like so many times in project teams quite often can be quite siloed. So you've got commercial doing one thing, the contracts team doing something else, like the site team doing something else. Everybody needs to be aligned and everybody needs to be working to one common goal, and having a proper programme that is a communication tool, not just an expensive bit of wallpaper. It needs to actually be a communication tool and get everybody on the same bus. Have proper regular communication around where is the project going, what's happening, like with the client. I mean, like our whole model starts way before then. We have a thing called 7 Cs, which is about like bid or no bid decisions. So our whole thing starts right at the very beginning about communication, because it's the one single thread that needs to be woven throughout everything. And why I say behaviour is because so much of construction can be seen as like quite combative, quite adversarial.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to adopt that approach. if you set stuff up properly from the beginning, you know, be confident and have clarity in what your offer is, and be confident in that. But you don't need to be adversarial. You don't need to be competitive at all.
It's always been the nature of the industry, I think, where people is adversarial. I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong. You could correct me in this, but I see sometimes in terms of the way contract managers, surveyors are trained, where it's kind of, these are my figures. You know, I would do an open book. Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's open book until it's not. Yeah.
Well, this book's open, but that book's not.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the nature of the industry really has to look at itself in terms of, if it wants that transparency, it needs to be able to be a little bit more real with the transparency.
Yeah.
And the training, I know, because obviously the contract manager or the surveyor's on a bonus. The bonus, he gets more bonus if he makes more profit. As he make more profit, but he's going to go to the subcontractors and knock them back, and it filters all the way through, and the poor subcontractor at the bottom gets slaughtered. With what you're saying, I'm kind of reading between the lines, but I'm seeing it's, so you spend a lot more time at the beginning talking to the client. How do you want to be communicated with? Having weekly meetings, progress meetings, whatever.
Just understanding what their model of the world looks like. Like, we work with a lot of private investors. Some of them, like, I've got £1 million in one project. Like, the guy don't want to hear from me till the project's done. I've got someone else that put 50 grand in. They want updates every 24 hours on WhatsApp. Look, but that's fine. But understanding what different people's model of the world is absolutely vital. And then meeting them where they're at. And this is why, like, we work with lots of partners, but one of the first things we talk about is what's someone's values. Because if their values are not aligned with ours, it's never going to work. There's no worse feeling on this planet than if your values are challenged. So that's why, for me, behaviour is so important. Looking at the small things in terms of how does someone behave, what's someone's attitude. You know, when you're pricing a work, and especially in residential, you kind of quite often go through this dance of, like, taking stuff out, putting stuff in to get to a price that probably is affordable with current building prices where they're at. So there's quite a lot of opportunities there to actually look into the whites of the eyes of the client and understand really what are they trying to achieve and what are their values, and approach it with confidence. But to do that, you've kind of got to understand what your values are first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it goes back again, as we touched on earlier, about the right client. Getting the right client, building a rapport,
so true.
Understanding why the work is being done.
Exactly,
in many cases.
What does good look like for them? You know, I mean, we look at all sorts of stuff. We look at who's the client. We look at if they got the cash. We look at who are the consultants. We look at what is the cadence that they want on the project. What's the communication going to be like? What's the complexity of the project? Have we got the capability to deliver that? And what are the choices that underpin this? We look at that whole picture to then go, okay, well, is this an us-shaped project? Are we the right solution for that? And if we don't, like we have a saying, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no. And if one of those things there's a slight red flag, we're like, no, we're out. Because it costs a lot of money to bid projects, even pricing small residential projects. You know, you're burning loads and loads of time, which is our most precious resource. I don't want to price stuff that's a waste of time pricing it.
No, indeed. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of our time together.
Wow.
Which it went very, very quickly.
It did go quickly,
How can people contact you? And is there any words of wisdom you'd like to finish on?
Any words of wisdom? Skill set without mindset will leave you upset is normally a good place to start.
I have to write that down, okay.
So that, I would say, probably is one of the most important things that we can remember. I'm on Instagram, Richard M. Stone. I'm on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Richard M. Stone or Project Management Blueprint. And me or one of the team.
Aren't you starting a new podcast? Is that coming up
I'm starting a new podcast. I'm really looking forward to it. It's called Built to Behave.
Okay. All right.
So that's coming out. We were going to launch it on my birthday, but we're going to delay it by a week because I'm actually delivering a training on my birthday, and I want to be able to get back to people with questions and comments.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, Richard.
That's right.